I really wanted to have a good work-life balance. And, working in an outpatient physical therapy clinic, you don't really have a great work-life balance. You're going to be working from until like 8 or 9 p.m. And then the next day you have to wake up at 6, be at the clinic at like 6:30 a.m. And, that's not awesome.
Welcome to the Prospecting Show, where each week we talk about tips, tricks, and methods for growing an amazing small business pipeline. I'm your host, Dr. Connor Robertson, and on this podcast you can expect segments on communication, perceived value, opportunity, and closing. Thank you to everyone who has supported my 100 episodes and 100 days goal going into 2020. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Prospecting Show. We got Demetri Nikoloulis here. Thank you so much for coming by the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Connor. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So give us the background. Where do you come from? What do you do right now? And tell everyone what you're up to.
Sure, yeah. So my background's in physical therapy. Went to grad school and undergrad actually at University of Illinois Chicago. Graduated with my DPT. Worked a little bit in PT. And from the beginning, kind of wanted to be molded into more of a management position. Wanted to work for a company or work for a healthcare hospital system, and maybe go into more director of rehab or go on to the lines of management, because I was going through school, and maybe as a chiropractor yourself and other PTs, the ceiling is low, and honestly the floor is low going into the profession.
100%.
And it's a great profession. I love treating patients. I love the community. I love my colleagues. I love working in that industry. But depending on where you work, you can be worked pretty to death almost. Like, not to death, but like you work a lot. You don't get paid accordingly, and I really wanted to have a good work-life balance. And working in an outpatient physical therapy clinic, you don't really have a great work-life balance. You're going to be working from until like 8 or 9 p.m. and then the next day you have to wake up at 6. Be at the clinic at like 6:30 a.m. and that's not awesome. So I kind of knew that from the get-go. I kind of realized that it wasn't going to be my long-term.
Sure.
So I looked at other avenues to see how to kind of create a profession outside of and utilizing my background or utilizing anything else. So like when I was going through PT school, going through undergrad and grad school, I was working as a trainer and didn't really see sales or prospecting or anything like that as something that I wanted to do. I wanted to treat patients. I wanted to be a therapist, right? I wanted to be treating patients.
Sure.
So I used that as like, hey, here's the skills that I'm going to use when I graduate PT school. So let me do this now so I'm better than my colleagues, because they're not going to have this experience.
Absolutely.
Most of them aren't. So that exposed me actually to sales and prospecting, because like working in a gym, working in the wellness and fitness space, you kind of get thrown into being a salesperson, even though you don't want to be.
Sure.
Right. And initially I was very resistant against it, and I actually left a big box gym because I didn't really feel like being that person at that time in my life, right? But then eventually I got back into it because I wanted to be fitness, and then all of a sudden, like, you know what? It actually is pretty easy to, if I'm good at what I'm doing, it's easy to sell myself, because I'm selling myself. I'm selling my relationship with the person. If there's something that I realize that I like talking to people, and I like building a relationship, and that's what prospecting is, and that's what sales is, honestly. So that experience molded me to understand that there's more than just A and B relationship. There's an A, B, but there's a C component to it. And if I can have a relationship with someone that could touch more people, then I'm building a relationship to A and B, but they're touching C, D, E, F, G, H. Now I'm hitting the whole alphabet, right? So I'd be able to touch more lives by not necessarily treating them one-on-one, but helping them in some type of way. Even though it could be considered as like sales, but it's not necessarily only sales. It's just building a relationship, and yeah, you're profiting from it financially, but it's the job, right? And
Right.
Someone has to do it, and if you have the background, which you and I have, that healthcare background, but we also unlike most people in our professions, don't really have that. Not everyone has that entrepreneurial mindset or that business mindset to want to see what else is out there and build something else.
Right. So what would you say is probably the most important thing for somebody who's in school right now, healthcare provider, chiropractor, physical therapist, occupational therapist, massage therapist, something like that, who thinks they might have a entrepreneurial set, like where they're sitting in there and going, I'm going to be out in 6 months or a year, but I want to do more than treat patients. What do you think the steps are for that person to take to go to that next level, to get into sales?
Honestly, it's like if sales isn't something that they're scared of, getting any sales job, honestly. There's so many positions out there, especially if you're in grad school. There's only so many flexible, either commission based or minimum wage and commission based companies. Even if it's not healthcare, it's better than working at a bar, right? Because you're gonna be gaining way more experience. Like
100%.
I mean, honestly, like low key, I would love. I actually kind of wanted to work at a bar growing up because it's like, hey, it's fun. You get to work in the industry. Like it's an experience that you kind of would like to have when you're younger. Maybe you get tired of it pretty quickly. Right. But like in theory, you're like, man, that'd be kind of fun to be a bartender.
Good opportunity.
Yeah. You get to meet some people. You have a good time. You get to have some cool perks when you want to go out yourself, right?
Right.
But like on the back end, you're like, what if I do that similar? Like they can make a lot of money too.
Right.
You can make a lot.
It's a good opportunity for someone with low skills who wants to get something low exposure and kind of work through it. But how does that person go from school to getting that sales job? You think it's network? You think it's reaching out to people? You think it's who you already know? What do you think is the easiest way for someone to transition from an educational background? They've been a student for 3 to 4 years, plus they're undergraduate, and now they're saying, I don't know if the clinic's right for me. How do they get to that next level to actually get into the sales role? Kind of like what you have experience with.
Right, yeah. So like for me, my exposure was, okay, I'm gonna work in a wellness role because that's my background. I know it very well. I know the body very well, anatomy. I'm very good at training. I'm very good at fitness for myself. I have the knowledge to be able to teach someone how to do it. Not necessarily. So there are some personal trainers who are very good at getting fit themselves.
Sure.
Not necessarily teaching someone else to do it, right?
Right.
So I have the knowledge base to be able to do that. Like learning that role, skill is very cool, and giving that, that exposed me to sales because you have to be. Right. Because you have to be exposed to that. If you work at a gym, let's say, for example, because I have that's my experience, my background, they're going to force you because it's not going to be worth it for them if they just give you clients and you're not making them more money.
Right. They're not going to value that relationship that you have with them. So if we go back to the kind of question I asked before and said, you're in school and you're looking for that sales transition. Do you think you should work for something in medical because they already have a healthcare degree? Do you think they should look for any sales job? Where should they start to be able to kind of
Start with medical, right? Okay. And there's so many consulting jobs that work at 1099 in medical. However, there's no... it's very difficult right now for someone to be able to teach you if you were to work as a contractor, right?
Right.
I got lucky where I had a little bit of sales training on the back end,
right?
And I have the knowledge of healthcare and I have the connections where I'm able to utilize that.
Right.
People in school might not have that. So, utilizing honestly any sales background, anything in the sales. Honestly, even working in Nordstrom sales, like even working at like retail sales,
some kind of consumer sales, just get out there and do it.
It doesn't matter because you're going to learn so much from that experience, and it'll carry over to understanding how a consumer thinks. Right. So if you understand and you eventually believe believe that what eventually you're going to be, selling or necessarily providing a service, because you could also go into the service way of like, I'm going to work as a liaison for a clinic, a home health agency, or or a chiro. It doesn't have to be
big diversity, right?
Big diversity,
could be
right?
Product, could be service, could be a combination of the two, could be something long term, short term.
But when you're young, right, you're not gonna when you're young or getting into it and you don't know, you have to get that experience in something, or else you won't understand and no one's gonna hire you. Because and even in my experience where I've been in sales and I was a fitness manager and I was a sales manager, getting into medical sales, getting into that space is extremely difficult.
Right.
Even with a doctorate in physical therapy.
And what do you think that gap is? Is it because the network isn't strong enough yet? Is it because of the degree and people don't recognize a clinical role to be a salesperson? What do you think the thing is that's stopping hiring managers or people that are in a position of hiring individuals, contractors, W2, whatever? What is that stuff?
You're competing against people who have experience in business-to-business sales.
Okay.
And when it comes into a healthcare medical sales position, you can have all the sales to consumer roles you can have, but it doesn't equate at the end of the day to a business to business, right?
Yeah.
So you can start off at business to consumer, right? Having that degree will get you and propel you to be able to get into the medical space.
Right.
And you can work either now as a clinical liaison, which some companies are looking for, and having a license actually maximizes your leverage, because sometimes that really helps when if you end up getting licensed.
Right.
Sometimes you don't have to be.
Right. PT, chiro, massage therapist, something that has a designation that you're saying, listen, I'm going to be a liaison for company X because I have this clinical experience that the sales team doesn't have. Right. So let's say somebody has that, right, and they transition into this first role. They do that for a year or so, and they get really good at it. What is your experience? What do you think the next step should be for that individual? What should they look for in a role that will make them happy? One, I know there's financial and there's also work-life balance and a couple other components, but what do you think is the most important thing when someone's looking at a second job, something they've already had experience at, going to that next sales role? Right.
So I think it's selling something or working for a company that you believe in, or understanding what you like. So I'll give you my background. My entrance into the medical sales industry was, first it was medical supplies, but immediately changed into blood diagnostic testing, where the company would compete with companies like LabCorp and Quest, which are like the biggest blood testing services in the whole entire country, right?
Absolutely.
So when you're competing against them, you have to figure out ways to convert a doctor's office from switching to what they're already used to using to that new service. Yeah. And then they're a little nervous because they don't know if they could trust this new service.
Right.
And I got where I was able to be good enough and clinical enough where I was like, hey, here's what we can do. Here's the reporting. Our reporting was better. Everything was clinically better, right?
Right.
Everything was better.
But it's clinically better enough, though. That's the thing.
That's the thing, right? So now you have to leverage what else can you do that makes it easier. Customer service, right? And then is there something that will benefit the doctor without violating Stark laws, which is the rule that if you no kickback rule, essentially, right? You don't want to violate that because everyone will get in trouble.
It's a fine line, right? You got to be able to have a great relationship with the doctor and all the people that are involved,
right? At
the same time, not violating any Stark laws, kickback laws,
exactly.
Any of these collusion principles, any of these things you got to be careful of. But at the end of the day, what do you think a doctor's looking for in someone like yourself? Is it that you're providing great customer service? Is it that you are somebody who's there all the time? What is it that you think that the doctors care most about when they're integrating with a company like what you're talking about?
Well, the doctor cares most about the relationship they're going to have with the person who they're going to be dealing with mostly, right? So they care about how good is your customer service? How good are you going to be? How involved are you going to be helping them out? If there's an issue, are you going to help them out? What's going to happen, right?
Right.
If they're going to be switching over to a thing, what's in it for them in the short term? What's in it for them in the long term? Right. Because at the end of the day, you can have the most amazing product in the world, but if you approach it in the wrong way and too aggressively, they're going to back out and they're not going to want to go with you.
They're not comfortable with that sales exposure that they're having. They're looking for something that says, I came here, I already was using another service, but I'm going to switch. I'm going to work with Demetri and Co. Right? Because they have a better customer service, they have better customer experience, they have an easier process, one phone number I call, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So just to kind of wrap things up here, if you had to kind of talk to a new grad that's looking to get into sales, what do you think the soft skills are that they should learn in their first 2 years? What is it that they need to be really good at that's going to help them be a killer salesperson going into their second, third, and fourth role down the road?
It's not going in desperate and understanding that what the service they're providing is they actually believe in it. Because if they're just going in there for the sale, they're not going to close it. And I mean, it's very, very generic answer but it's actually true. If you don't believe that the doctor will benefit from the service from whatever reason, whether it be them saving money, whether it be making their lives a lot easier, whether it be working with you is just more better and they would enjoy that more than working with another representative from another company.
Right.
That could, all those three factors, and there are more that'd be good. But being able to, like, the best thing to do is like listen to their pain points, like the classic sales role. Right. And like, you have 2 ears, 1 mouth, so listen more than you talk, right? So listen what they want to hear, listen to what they say, hear what they say, and then repeat what they say, and then say, here's my solution to what you just said, or let me reiterate what you said, and this is what I think. Now, if they already have that service, or if they already have whatever, you just gotta figure out what differentiates you, and that the doctor's gonna go with you because of you, because of what you know. So reading books is gonna be huge, right? Like understanding how to treat and how to win friends and influence people is a really good book to understand and learn. And like having a mentor in that space. So why we talked about like, hey, I'm new to sales. I think that clinically I might not want to be a clinician, but I kind of don't want to throw that away. Right. And so how can I, and you're asking, how can I gain experience and knowledge to be able to utilize my knowledge and my expertise in healthcare and whatever my degree is, and then utilizing it to act as a liaison or business development or sales for a company that maybe I believe in or maybe I don't believe in at first, and then it's just a stepping stone for the next thing that I really want to go to. You're going to have to find a job maybe necessarily that you won't believe in at first, just so you get that foot in the door and understand how, and as long as they have a good learning and education system and you're getting those reps, then when you get to that next level, you'll be able to experience is what you need to be able to be cool and calm under pressure. If I don't know the answer, like initially you're going to be like, man, I'm nervous. Like, I don't know how to answer this question because I don't know. Right. And I know the answer. I literally sat in front of the doctor. I took out my phone. I called the person who didn't know the answer. I put them on speaker. It's like, hey, I'm with Dr. Blah, blah, blah. Can you answer the question? And I literally put them on speaker. Yeah, it makes me look a little silly, but then also it's respectable because, like,
you're saying here's where my knowledge stops, but I know somebody else who can potentially help us, right? And so that's a huge win for lots of people. So I 100% appreciate that. So tell us one more time, recap for us, what kind of industry and what kind of services are you doing right now so that the viewership kind of understands? And then how can they contact you if they want to kind of learn more from you, hear kind of what you're doing, find a way to network with you in the future?
So I no longer really do too much of the lab space. Right. I deal primarily with, now I've gone back into orthopedics, so like DMEs, transfusions, DVT devices, helping clinics and clinicians kind of utilize those methods and maybe either helping it become turnkey, making it easier for them to prescribe. Okay. Maybe helping them increase profitability and maximizing profits. By doing exactly what they were doing already, but making it a little easier on them. So that's huge, right? That's awesome. An easy thing. So working in that orthopedic space, and I'm doing a lot of different wholesaling as well, like working with different distributors, different items or services with a variety of either over the counter medicines or even braces again and other products. Like when you've been in the game and you're making connections, you may not know someone who knows the answer, but you know someone who knows someone who knows the answer. So and your job at this point is now connect those two, and then if you connect the dots, now you're no longer doing the work, but there's a finder's fee involved, right? And you're just sitting back and enjoying that, and
that
you're like,
opportunity,
and like they appreciate you, they're gonna take care of you, and that's the name of the game. It's the long 100%. Play. It's not the immediate play. You're not going to make a lot of money immediately.
Upfront. But long term, it's going to be relationship.
You're building relationships. You're going to make residual income, and then it's only going to create more deals in the future because then now they're going to refer to you for your wheelhouse. Right, absolutely. And that's the name of the game, right? So in totality, like, that's what I do. You can contact me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, D_NIKOLZ. I mean, you could even DM me on that, but that's kind of my personal page.
Awesome, man.
But yeah, any of those, Demetri, DEMETRI, and then Nikoloulis, NIKOLOULIS. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, or LinkedIn. Message me directly. More than happy to kind of help out or communicate, and I'm always willing to collaborate with people who want to be in the space and grow their business.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming by the podcast, the Prospecting Show. Really appreciate your time here in Pittsburgh, and good luck for the next couple weeks here going into the end of the year. Appreciate it.